Hi, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We'll be diving right into our newspaper review. And first off, we're starting with Daily Trust. Right in front, we have revised cash policy, real effects. That's continued on pages 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust. At the top left, we have Senate moves to tag kidnapping act of terrorism. That's on page 10 of the Daily Trust. Fubara lawmakers at loggerheads again. That's on page 13 of the Daily Trust. We have United States to restrict visas for genocide supporters in Nigeria. That is on page 32 of the Daily Trust. At the bottom, we have insecurity, the gaps within armed forces, says General Musa. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust. And we have why only 2.5 million of 9.8 million completed voters registration. That's on page 12 of the Daily Trust newspaper. 4 killed as police youth clash in Kogi. That's on page 30 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Gunmen abduct 3 students in Edo. That's on page 38 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed. All right, right in the studio with us, we have the editor-in-chief of Dateline Nigeria newspaper, Nasiru Lawal. Thank you for joining us this
morning. Good morning, and thank you for coming.
Absolutely. All right. We are still on a Daily Trust. We have revised cash policy, real effects. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has revised cash-related policies effective January 1st, removing all limits and fees on cash deposits. So what is your take on this?
Well, I think the idea is to encourage a cashless policy. You know, the money that they spend in printing all these currency banknotes, it's actually high. And then right now we are talking about, I think, close to how many trillion naira that is circulating outside the banking system. And that partly has to do with the fact that, you know, people can't go to the bank to deposit their money, and then yet you are charging them for doing, for depositing their own money. So probably to encourage them, that's why they are now coming up with this policy, so that whatever amount you have that you want to deposit, you can deposit it without having any issues. Unlike before, when it reached a certain threshold, you will have to be charged for, you know, the excesses. And if you look at the other side of it, which is like retaining the withdrawal limit, so that people will not be, you know, relying on cash. Right now, most of our transactions are actually cash-based. If you go to all these markets, especially the ones in rural areas and communities, you know, people will rather deal with cash than use the USSD codes and other forms of technological. But the thing is, you know, when you have problem with the technology, like what our banks are doing, sometimes you have failed transaction, and before it is resolved, you know, sometimes 48 hours, sometimes even time. Yeah, sometimes even 5 working days. So if that is the case, you know, for somebody like somebody that is residing in the rural community, probably that's all he had, like maybe 200,000 naira, and then while doing transaction, somehow it failed, and then he cannot get that money back until after like maybe 2 working days. If that is the case, then why should he take his money to the bank when he can, you know, decide to keep it within his own household, so that whenever he needs to do transaction, he will do it. And then there are so many people that, look, they can't just rely on this banking transaction being online, because sometimes you see alerts, you know, you see the amount, and then when you go to your bank, and then they will tell you a different story. So because of that, I think that's what the central bank should focus its energy on. Let them encourage, you know, or even penalize the banks when they fail to render services within the shortest possible time. Because that is, to me, basically what is frustrating the cashless policy.
All right, let's take a look at this headline. Senate moves to tag kidnapping as act of terrorism. Just yesterday, the Senate passed for second reading a bill seeking to designate kidnapping as an act of terrorism. And also, the proposed amendment is also seeking death penalty for kidnappers and anyone who aids or supports kidnapping operations. What is your take on this?
Well, already kidnapping is a very dangerous form of criminality, whether you tag it as terrorism, you know, or not. it's bad enough, the fact that you are, abducting people, denying them their freedom, and then you start asking for ransom, you have basically turned human beings into disposable products, and it's because of the insecurity. If the government can actually provide us with security, all these kidnappings wouldn't be taking place, because right now they will come, they will use telephone, and then somehow they cannot be traced. So it's like they are receiving collusion among the security services and some of these criminals. And to even consider the capital punishment, honestly, I don't think it will make any difference, because right now so many people are on death row and nobody is willing to sign their death warrant. So why come up with a law that basically you cannot even ensure that it's being implemented? So rather than focus their energy on that, I think what they should do is to make sure that the security agencies are doing the services that they are required to do. That's why they're earning their salaries. I know some will say they are doing their best, but honestly, in these matters, I don't think their best is actually enough.
All right, let us look at this headline. We've seen it all over the United States to restrict visas for genocide supporters in Nigeria. And at this point, a couple of groups have been called as radical, just like the Miete Allah, Kautal Hori and others, but they have come out and debunked that. But what is your take on this restriction that the United States is putting on some groups?
Well, I think it's a good development, if only, all those that are actually behind these killings, also the ones that are applying for the US visas and what have you. What if, the killers have no interest in going to the United States of America? They don't even have interest in leaving the country. All they want is to make sure that they do these killings and then probably take over the resources of the people that they are killing and what have you. So it's good that the US is, putting pressure, but I hope we are not like misapplying it or like doing it for the wrong people, because I don't think in this day and age, people will be in the open, sponsoring these killings, and then they will be known, and then somehow they will go and apply for US visas. I don't think that will be the case. But like I said, this is about putting pressure on the government and even those that are behind these killings. If we are able to stop it, fine and good, because that should be the idea. Even the government, if these kind of pressures are being pushed, probably will begin to see more action, because like so many people are saying, you can see the government is now like a bit up and doing more than before. Before, killings will happen, and then it takes this even before the government will even admit the fact that something like that happened. So if we can put the pressure on them to do the right thing, I think it's fine and good.
All right, let's take this headline. Insecurity, there are gaps within armed forces, says General Musa. Yesterday, he was screened and appointed, confirmed and appointed as the Minister of Defense. And, he stated that there are still gaps within the armed forces that is militating against efforts to successfully tackle the insecurity issues that we're facing in Nigeria. What is your view on that?
Well, maybe the first thing to ask him is at what point, did these gaps emerge? Because, just last October, he was in charge of the defense staff. He was the chief of defense staff. So he was like a player in that sector. So if there are gaps, of course, he should know. But, why now? Why are we hearing about it now? When he was in the service, what did he do to make sure that those gaps, were being filled and what have you? So I think, like so many people are saying, it's good that we have somebody with military background now set to become the Minister of Defense. But that in itself is not enough, because we've had so many, retired generals as defense ministers in the past. What were they able to do? And then we also had civilians, who played that role. Somehow, some of them did, one or two things that were good. So it's not about background sometimes, but like I said, the argument right now is that those that are in charge of our Ministry of Defense, had no security background. Probably all they know is the fact that having been governors in the past, they know about security, votes, and what have you. Outside of that, I don't think they have any experience, executing wars and making sure that people are being protected the way they are supposed to.
All right.
All right. Now let's look at this. We've seen that only 2.5 million out of 9.8 million completed voters registration. Do you think that a lot of people are now skeptical of, going to register? Some might go and register when it's time for them to vote. They have issues with it. They cannot locate where the polling unit and things like that. And aside from that, coupled with what is going on in Nigeria as well, do you think that Nigerians are demoralized when it comes to voter registration as well?
Yeah, actually, when I saw the story, the first thing that came to my mind, so many people are being displaced. Take for instance, if some people are living within the precinct of, the communities that are now under, terrorist attacks and what have you. I don't expect them to remain in those communities. So to expect them to even continue with registration, voting is actually the last thing that will be on their minds right now. So like I always argue, even the way we are going about our election and the registration, getting voters card and what have you, I think we are spending monies that we can actually take to other sectors, that are begging for attention. Why can't we use our NIN, for instance? Why can't we use our, other forms of identification?
Everything.
Yeah, so that, you don't have to, like, every election cycle, you go looking for where to register resources. Because you have relocated from one area to the other. You have to update. Honestly, we can do better. So honestly, if we can get to do that, at least even the money that we are spending, like I said, we'll find another means of utilizing them.
All right. And now, I believe there's another one that I would like to look at on Daily Trust. Fubara lawmakers at loggerheads again. Now, at this point, do you think that we'll be seeing a continuation of this, issues between Fubara and the lawmakers due to the fact that they're not coming to an agreement on a lot of things happening there?
Well, if they're doing it, in the interest of the people, you say fine and good. But the problem is they are doing it for other interests. Like we all know, the lawmakers are now seen as, the boys of the FCT minister. I'm not like denigrating them by using that term because that's what people are saying. And then the governor, having suffered, in the past, probably he wouldn't want to allow a repeat of what happened in the past. So I think all the elders in Rivers State and even the presidency, because, at the last time it happened, it was the president that essentially brokered peace between the two warring factions. So before it degenerates, honestly, the elders, the president and whoever has one or two roles to play in it should, come up with solutions so that we don't see a repeat of what happened, because if it happened again, other states may also toe the same line, and that shouldn't be something that we should allow to happen.
All right. All right, I believe that is all we have. Thank you very much, Nasiru Lawal, for shedding so much light on the headlines that we have on our national dailies.
Thank you for
coming.
All right, with that, we've come to the end of a Daybreak on Trust TV. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. so don't miss out on interesting and engaging conversations. As always, I'm Hawa Adamikiawa. Thank you for watching.
And I am Mimuna Bagudu. Do what follow us on all of our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more news. Have a great day and stay safe.